These are the first 10 chords that you should learn on the ukulele. And I'm speaking scientifically here because according to the data, these are the chords that appear in the most songs on the ukulele. So before you spend all that time stressing about how to play an E chord, you should learn these chords I'm about to teach you. You'll encounter them much more frequently. First up is the most famous chord on the ukulele, C. It sounds like that. You just play this chord by putting your ring finger on the A string of the ukulele. Just a one finger chord, super easy to play. All the other strings ring open. This is very much the ready position on the ukulele. It's really important to get so comfortable with that ring finger, 3rd fret, A string position. You'll be here a lot. From a one finger chord to a 2-finger chord, the next chord that you should learn on the ukulele is F. To play F, we put our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string and our pointer finger or index finger on the 1st fret of the E string. The other strings all ring open. Now, I know there's some of you at home who get this sound. And that's because your middle finger and pointer finger are blocking the strings below them. On the 2nd fret of the G string, you're blocking that open C string, and with the pointer finger, you're blocking that open A string. To combat that, it's really important you just get up on the tips of your fingers. Get right up on the tips with good thumb placement on the back of the ukulele, allowing your hand to push forward up on the fingertips, creating enough space for all those notes to ring out. As a ukulele teacher, I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, my hands are too big, my fingers are too fat, I need a bigger ukulele, this isn't going to work. Honestly, it's just finger yoga. We don't go into a yoga studio and expect to do the craziest poses. We don't go into a gym and expect to lift the heaviest weights. It just takes practice to create that space. Speaking of creating space, we're going to need it for this next chord because it is G, a 3-finger chord. Now, for G, we need to make use of that finger real estate. We need all our fingers up on their tips. We've got the pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, the ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. The G string just rings open. Practice at this point changing between C, F, and G, because with those 3 chords you've already unlocked so many songs on the ukulele. So once you've got comfortable with C, F and G, perhaps the 3 most important chords on the instrument, it's time to take the load off a little bit and get an easy win with our first minor chord, that's A minor. It's just middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. Everything else is open. At this point, it's good to practice good technique when you're playing a chord for the first time. I always like to first check each string by dragging the pad of my thumb across all of them to make sure they're ringing out nicely. Once I've got each string ringing nicely, I strum. And then I try incorporating it with the chords I already know. That way we make sure we're not just learning a chord in isolation, we're incorporating it into our repertoire. A minor was our first minor chord, and that just means it sounds sad. The other chords we learned, C, G, and F, were all major chords, which just mean happy. C major, I'm happy now and I'm walking along. A minor, and now I'm sad and it feels so wrong. Can you hear the difference? Major happy, minor sad. With that in mind, let's learn our next chord, A major, the happy version of A minor. To make this sad chord happy, all we do is put our pointer finger down on the 1st fret of the C string, whilst keeping our middle finger down on the 2nd fret of the G string. E and A strings are open, and we've turned that A minor into an A major. happy version of A. Okay, we're making fast progress. Let's learn D. Now, D sometimes feels a little bit cramped. So we've got to put our pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger all on the second fret of the G, C, and E strings. The A string is open. Sounds like this. A lot of people struggle wedging all those fingers in to just that one fret. So takes a little bit of practice, takes a little bit of finger yoga. Some people struggle with this chord so much that they decide to do a bar across those strings and then lift their finger enough to leave that string open. But honestly, I think you're kind of overcomplicating it. Just learn to do the yoga and put your fingers all on that fret. I think that's just an all-round better way to play D, and it allows you to do some cool sliding stuff later on. Let's turn that happy D chord into D minor, the sad version. To play D minor, we put our middle finger on the second fret of the G string, our ring finger on the second fret of the C string, and our pointer finger on the first fret of the E string. And then the A string is open. Sounds like this. D minor is widely regarded as the saddest of all chords. Do you agree? It's a pretty sad chord. D minor. Make sure you're incorporating it with all the chords that you've already learnt. Next up, we're going to learn a new type of chord. We already talked about major chords, happy, and minor chords, sad. But there's another type of chord, and that's a seventh chord. Seventh chords are the jazzy versions of the chord. So, for example, D. We learned the happy D, the sad D. Now we've got a jazzy D, D7. Yeah, there's a jazzy vibe to that chord. We put the pointer finger, second fret, G string, leave the C string open, and then the middle finger on the second fret of the E string, and the A string's open. At this point, you might be wondering why I've chosen these two fingers to play D7. Why am I not, for example, starting with my middle finger on the second fret of the G string? The reason I like to play D7 like this is because then I keep these fingers free to play embellishments around the chord. Often, we want to make use of the fewest fingers as possible in the best positions possible. G7, the jazzy G chord. G major was like this. G7 is like this. We put our middle finger on the second fret of the C string, our pointer finger on the first fret of the E string, and our ring finger on the second fret of the A string. The G string rings open. At this point, we've got a huge plethora of chords at our disposal, and hopefully we're comfortable playing them all and moving between them all. So, here's a little challenge for us. We're going to learn B flat major. It sounds like this. To play B flat major, we put our ring finger on the third fret of the G string, our middle finger on the second fret of the C string, and our pointer finger bars across the first fret of the E and A string. Now, what is a bar? That's when one finger presses down two strings across the fret. So we need to generate enough force that both of those strings are pushed down. A lot of the power comes from our thumb at the back of the instrument here. So make sure it's a squeeze between your finger and a thumb, not just pushing with your finger itself. Practice first just playing those two strings, making them ring out clearly, and then add the second fret of the C string and the third fret of the G string. It takes a little practice to be able to generate that force, but once you get it, it will become one of your favourite chords. And there you go. Those are 10 of the most important chords on the ukulele. Not the easiest, but the ones you'll encounter the most frequently. So keep on rewinding the video, pausing it, getting your ukulele out, practicing. You'll have the chords in no time. If you feel like this video helped you out, please make sure to subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you all next time.